14. In 13th position, number 13, Steve Summers, and in 14th position, number 14, John Munday. On the 8th row, 68 and 155. 68 is John Dundee, and 155 is Ricky Abel. On the 9th row, 3 and 36. 3 is Ben McCauley, and 36 will be Sam McKee to start, and Darryl Bennett in the second part. On row 10, 413 and 116. 413 is Andrew Cooper, and 116 Matthew Morgan. On the 11th row, 16 and 28. 16 will be Matthew Stenning to start. He shares with John Peerless. And 28 alongside is Andy Baker. On the 12th row, 9 and 11. 9 is going to be driven solo, we believe, by Ethan Simmons. Alongside number 11 is Leo Meakin. On the 13th row, he's 114 and 31. 114 is George Whitehouse. And 31 Thomas Lintz. On the 14th row, 47 and 316. 47 is Tom Hill. 316 will be started by Ivor Mayers, and he shares with Cameron Reid. On row 15, 22 and 86. 22 is Chris Fantana, and 86 Andrew Anderson. On the 16th row, 72 and 41. 72 is Keith Fryer. 41, I believe, is a relayed car, and that'll be Jason Wood, who starts with Ben Bateman as his partner. And then on row 17, 731 is Ewan Lintz to line up at the back of a 33-car grid for the Tiguan Roadsports Series, which will be a 45-minute race and feature a pit stop between 15 and 30 minutes. All the cars have to be stationary for 60 seconds, apart from those who were on the podium at Croft. So that means in Class A, Scott Parkin has a 15-second success penalty. Simon Morgan has a 10-second, and Ryan Parkin has 5-second penalty. In Class B, Mark Burton will have a 15-second penalty. He was a class winner there. In Class C, a 10-second penalty for Matthew Morgan and 5 for Matthew Stenning and John Peerless. And in Class D, Andrew Anderson will have a 10-second success penalty, finishing on the podium at Croft, a race which was won by Scott Parkin, hence why he has the 15-second penalty. There are 4 classes based on power to weight ratio. So Class A, the quickest cars, and then there should be battles in classes B, C and D. The cars already on their green flag, left back suckling down at Beckett's with this great big group of cars passing you.
Yeah, good afternoon everyone. Good afternoon Josh. Yeah, we've got a healthy field once again for this next round of the Tiguan Roadsports Series. Eclectic mix as always with all these production sports and saloon cars out there running, as you said, in different classes. So pretty much whatever you want to race, it can be found somewhere within this field. Some of the older models towards the back, some of those which are quicker will be towards the front. But yeah, 45 minutes, this mini enduro to look forward to. Pit stop race with the rolling start very shortly to begin.
Absolutely right. So this is going to be a busy old race on a pretty short track with this variation car. Some of these competitors are heading off to Brands Hatch tomorrow to compete in the next round of the Tiguan Club Enduro Championship at the Grand Prix circuit. So that does include, I think, both the drivers, all 4 drivers on the first 4 positions, I think, are all heading to Brands Hatch this evening. So they'll be mindful of that, you would think. But 45 minutes of racing is about to get underway. The pace car will pull off into the pit lane, and the rest of the field are in 2x2 formations. The Seat then of Simon Morger on pole. It's the Audi TT alongside of Scott Parkin, the diesel-powered car, the similar car of his twin brother Ryan on row 2, and the BMW of Paul Simonson and Richard Stanton's car. The red lights go out, the race gets underway, then the cars accelerate up towards Cops Corner for the first time. And absolutely side by side as Scott Parkin tries to go around the outside of this Seat. So it's either Audi or BMW heading to you first, Matt.
It looks like the Audi has just got the job done there, so it's going to be the Audi on the outside. It will be though, so the Seat of Simon Morgan tries to fight back, which it will do, off onto 3 wheels. It runs wide, which allows not just one but possibly both of the Audis through. So there goes Scott Parkin, there goes Ryan Parkin behind him as well, and all of a sudden the Seat, which was on the front row at pole position, is down to 3rd place, but good speed in a straight line. I wouldn't be surprised if that Seat comes back at the Audi, but for now it's Parkin at 1-2.
Yeah, Morgan dives up the inside of Ryan Parkin, but then goes very, very wide again. That's what he did at the last corner. And Simon Morgan then drops back behind Ryan Parkin, but it is Scott Parkin that leads then, last year's Tiguan Club Enduro champion. A new car for him this year. He was in a Golf last year. He's now got this sequential gearbox Audi TT TDI to the manual gearbox car behind, and Brian Parkin in second. Third is Simon Morgan, as Matt said, very quick car in a straight line. That's where he comes back up the inside, but Brian Parkin shuts the door as they go in towards Cops Corner. And I think we go with Paul Simerson to start the car in fourth position. The BMW not that far back below it. So race leader Scott Parkin heading towards Matt.
Yeah, already started to build a lead as well. It's Scott, so he's got a bit of a buffer over his brother Ryan as they work their way through Beckett. Once again, that Sayre Parkin time and time again just seems to run wide through there. So he's got to be careful as Simon Morgan not to do that too often, because he would lose a few more places. But Paul Simonson now charging hard in fourth place. Someone from lower down.
This year, the BMW M2 is in Class B, and is he taking the lead of that class? I think he may have done, up ahead of Chris Freeman, who was leading previously, but it's number one that leads. That's Scott Parkin, 62nd, which is Ryan Parkin, the gap 1.1 seconds. Third is 18 Simon Morgan, fourth is 55 Paul Simerson, fifth is 7 Rob Andrade. In sixth, Louis Woodward has taken the lead in Class B, and Roach Villamori has also gone past Chris Freeman, so a real mix-up in Class B, and the class winner at Crop, Mark Burton, only fourth in that class.
Yeah, just wondering now if Ryan Parkin is possibly going to try and hold up as many people as possible to get Scott Parkin a bit of a lead, but it doesn't look that way at the minute. Ryan's still fighting hard. Of course, he can't do that too much because the Sayre Simon Morgan is wanting to get through pretty quickly to reclaim those 2 places he lost on the first lap, but not in a position to do so. But again, towards the end of the straight, he gets a good run. He might have a look down towards Brooklands.
Let's have a look at that then. Nose to tail, that's for sure. Ryan Parkin's hanging on then, ahead of Simon Morgan. Ryan and Scott Parkin both 34, twin brothers from South Yorkshire, in the similar Audi TT TDIs that have been built up by the Darkside development team from Volkswagen Racing Cup cars, now with diesel engines, which the company specialise in. So they head up towards Cops Corner, nose to tail between second and third. The Class B cars come through, including side-by-side for third position within that class as Mark Burton tries to come around the outside of Chris Freeman. In Class C, it's Sam McKee that leads. In Class D, it's Jason Wood.
Yeah, so good class battles as always, but it's these 3 out front, which were the 3 we had at Croft. With Scott ahead of Simon, ahead of Ryan, so slightly different order we have for the time being. Still that BMW of Paul Simerson trying to catch and stay with the lead trio, but as it stands, is a couple of seconds back for the time being. And what of Louis Woodward? Well, he now has right behind him the 127 machine, which is pushing hard here of Verose Villamori, and those two are going to be nose to tail off the back straight as well.
And in Class C, Matt, the top 4 are absolutely together. Sam McKee, Matthew Stelling, Ben McCauley and Matthew Morgan were separated by half a second, the 4 of them, as they crossed the line to start the lap that they were on. So that's going to be one to look out for. Scott Parkin is pulling clear up front. He won across, and remember he's got a longer pit stop to serve than the 2 cars behind. The gap currently 1.3 seconds to Ryan Parkin. The Class C battle, meanwhile, is heading through Brooklands Corner. Sam McKee, who was at the head of it, is now almost at the back of it, so he's dropped to third in all of that. So this is a great battle in the classes to look out for. So number 36, the BMW, Sam McKee has dropped back. It's Chris Freeman is into the pits with a problem in his Golf, but it's number 16 then, Matthew Stenning, that leads Class C. Up into seconds come Ben McCauley. Sam McKee has dropped to third, and Matthew Morgan fourth. They're still absolutely together. Yeah,
and as you were speaking about that, Josh, it was the move being made by Matthew Stenning down at my end of the circuit, so it just squeezed past on Sam McKee. So that's a tremendous fight for Class C. They're just about to re-emerge from Cops Corner by the looks of it as they work their way back down towards us, and all of a sudden it looks like that Matt McKee's lost further places here because... Go for it.
Lap traffic has begun, and there was almost an accident coming out of Woodcote Corner. So we've got the classic stock hatch brigade, and there's 3 or 4 of them on the grid, and I don't think they were quite aware the leaders were catching them with such a speed, and Scott Parkin had to go off the track at Woodcote Corner not to run into the back of one of them. So lap traffic has begun, Matt, and that's going to be a factor for the next 39 minutes.
Certainly is. I think Matthew Morgan also got past that of Matt McKee as well, Sam McKee, sorry, in that fight for third place within Class C. So that has now really unfolded, unfortunately, for the BMW driver. As onto the back straight go the leaders. Scott still ahead of Ryan, ahead of Simon, and then the BMW continues to chase in the hands at the minute of Paul Simerson, we think. But yeah, already in these early stages, just 5 minutes completed, lots of traffic for the leaders to deal with.
Yeah, so in Class C, Ben McCauley has got to the front and pulled clear of Matthew Stenning pretty quickly, 1.4 seconds together. That's the biggest it has been. the Class A. He's still under threat from Simon Morgan. Then the ex-Ferrari racer Paul Simerson is there in fourth. Rob Andrade completes the top 5 at this stage of the race. And then the Class B leaders, well, they're still together. Louis Woodward just 6/7 of a second ahead of Rose Billamori, the BMW and the Volkswagen.
Yeah, leaders back past me as well. More traffic to deal with. You've got the Mazda and also the Ginetta G40 to squeeze his way through, and Scott Parkin goes right down the middle. So no time lost there. Ryan Parkin still trying his best to hold on at the minute, but the gap now starting to grow as it sits just over 2 seconds. But Simon Morgan still there in the number 18 machine. And there goes our Class B leader. So onto the back straight, Louis Woodward with probably about half a second now in hand over Rose Billamori.
Okay. So we've had a new lap record set, by the way, by Scott Parkin at 1 minute 9.958. He's done a new lap record. Croft, he's done the same here. There's still time though for this to change. There's been a change to second position through the traffic. Simon Morgan's got the better of Ryan Parkin as they come out of Luffield corner. So a change for second then. So the Seat back up to where it qualified quickest, didn't it, this morning. So can Simon Morgan, after a couple of mistakes early on, get the front wheel drive Seat up to Scott Parkin? The lead gap 3.4 seconds. Then a couple of seconds back in Paul Simerson down towards Beckett.
Yeah, and there's potential for this to change once again because there's a whole heap of traffic just up the road here. So as long as Ryan Parkin can stay with number 18 Seat, then he might have a chance of getting that place back. We'll wait and see. Top 4 now pretty much clear. Just waiting for the 5th place 777 machine of Rob Andrade to come through. He does. He's in that orange and white Seat just ahead of the Volkswagen Minute, or the number 4 machine in fact, which is a little bit further down the order, maybe a lap down actually.
Yeah, so that's a Chris Freeman car, I think that one hit it, so it's not back out to pit lane, but it's obviously out of contention. Class C leaders are back together, so Ben McCauley, who got past Matthew Stenger, has been recaught. There's 4/10 of a second between them. They're shortly about to be lapped by Scott Parkin. About a second continues, so Simon Morgan hasn't been able to get away from Ryan Parkin at this stage. And Paul Simerson is staying with them, the 47-year-old from Leicester, who started racing 5 years ago in the Ferrari Challenge, was moved to 750 Motorsport Racing for this year in that BMW M4 GT4 X Century Motorsport car.
Yeah, hard to know where to look at the minute, isn't it? Because there's so much going on. We've got the leader now trying to work his way past the 36 machine, which is Sam McKee. So he's already up to a lap in of those with inside the top 20. So through goes the race leader, and Simon Morgan is still in second, but again, it's going to be Ryan Parkin a lot closer. But of course, there's only going to be one line through the traffic, so he won't be able to get the move done for second place as it stands. And further back again, that number 777 machine working its way through, but most of the class battles now starting to settle down at the minute.
As you said that, Matt, there was a change to the leading Class C at Brooklands because Matthew Stenning has got the better of Ben McCauley, so they changed positions a couple of laps ago, and they've just been lapped by Scott Parkin as they come through Woodcote Corner. So the Honda back ahead of the Lotus. Lead gap between the Audi and the Seat is 3.5 seconds. It came down by a couple of tenths. The top 4 separated by less than 7 seconds. Remember, Scott Parkin has a 15-second extra pit stop to serve. 10 seconds for Simon Morgan, 5 for Ryan Parkin. So that potentially, Matt, is going to mix up the top 4 positions.
Yes, he does need to build this gap, doesn't he? He really needs to pull away if he can, but not doing so at the minute. As Simon Morgan now gets hampered by the traffic. They go either side of the number 3 Lotus, which means they're going to be side by side onto the Wellington Straight. They go past the new Class B leader at the same time as well. But Simon Morgan just about hangs on from Ryan Parkin with that straight line advantage. But that was a move to potentially put Parkin back into second.
Yeah, he's still behind as they turn their way through Brooklyn. This is absolutely crazy. This race, we've only had 10 minutes of it. There's still 35 minutes to go. And then through Luffield, a tighter line being taken by Ryan Parkin as he tries to draw up alongside the Seat. But he can't quite do it. So Simon Morgan, the TCR type Seat Cupra, is ahead still of Ryan Parkin. The GT4 type car of Paul Simerson, of course, they don't have to run in the specification of the cars that they are in this championship. They have a power to weight ratio. They're on treaded tyres as well, rather than on slicks. So Scott Parkin leads by 4 seconds. Class B, well, Louis Woodward is starting to get away now from the ex-British GT race of Rose Billamori. This is, I think, Louis Woodward's first race in this M2. He raced in the 116 Trophy previously. Mark Burton, who won at Croft, has fallen 7 seconds away from them. And then behind there is the car which was started by Michael Smith, which I think is the car that Scott Parkin won the Club Enduro Championship in last year. He's fourth in Class B at this stage. Class D, we haven't mentioned lately, Jason Wood leads that by 4 seconds over Chris Vantana. And then in Class C, it's still close between Matthew Stenning and Ben McCauley. As the race leader, Scott Parkin completes 11 laps. His lead was 4.3 seconds on the previous lap. Now they're left to cast for the second time already. 4.4 seconds is the new gap, so it's pretty stable between the top 2 cars. They turn their way through Cops Corner. They just lapped the 731 car, which is Ewan Lintz, who's only in his second meeting. Classic stock catch regular, just a teenager.
They've got a good fight going on now for 10th place. This is between the two guys who started on the same road that were actually on Monday, and the chasing notes release of Steve Summers. Those two just heading down the Wellington Straight now, almost side by side. And for second again, it's going to be side by side because Ryan Parkin gets the better run onto the Wellington Straight, but he needs to be further up the road for that to take advantage at the end, because again in the straight line, Ryan Parkin can't quite live with Simon Morgan.
You mentioned Stephen Summers. It's his birthday tomorrow. Making his debut with the 750 Motor Club. He was a champion last year in the Track Day Trophy, and he's currently side by side with John Munday for what is 10th position. He's on the inside line as they head up towards Cops Corner. The low-slung Lotus, I don't think quite can get the better of the supercharged Honda. As the battle for second position goes either side of the traffic, and Ryan Parkin's ahead now as they go up towards Cops Corner. So Ryan Parkin just about gets ahead of Simon Morgan in all of that. So that battle for second continues as they come down towards Maggots.
Yeah, and if he's ahead down towards Maggots and Beckett's, and he can kind of grow that through the corner, it might just lead him to do the job. But Simon Morgan fights back in the sale on the inside into Janetta, bang smack in the middle of the circuit again, so they don't really know where to go. They're still side by side through the corner, which means onto the straight with the power. And Simon Morgan now gets back in front of Ryan Parkin. So he's giving it a good go, is Ryan, but he just cannot hold on to it for the time being. And the Janetta that was in the way, I think, was the 68 machine, which was John Dundee, so he will now be out of the way, and those two will be passed.
Yeah, so Morgan back ahead then of Ryan Parkin, and also lap Chris Vantana, who's second in Class D, 4 seconds behind Jason Wood. Chris Vantana, then the 38-year-old from Northamptonshire in this Mazda MX-5, chasing after Jason Wood. But who's about to be lapped by Morgan up the left-hand side. Parkin up the curve, it does similar as they go up towards Cops Corner. They're 6 seconds behind Scott Parkin now. So what Scott's done there is been able to pull out the 5 seconds he needs to Simon Morgan, but he's yet to pull out the 10 seconds required to Ryan Parkin and the 15 seconds required to Paul Simonson.
And just have a spin down here, unfortunately, for Leo Meakin in the Janetta G40. The Grey Janetta tries to rejoin just behind that fight for second place, and it looks like the Nissan as well in the hands of Ricky Abel. Nissan 370 said has just gone a lap down, but no real damage, I don't think, for the 11 machine, which is back on its way.
Contact and a big spin at Brooklands Corner, and that was for John Munday. And Steve Summers, I don't think was involved in it, but he's been caught up in sort of the end of the incident. The Lotus is now, Steve Summers is getting back going. They went behind the building to see where they ended up. They had a big spin. Have a look. Yeah, still the Honda might still be there at this stage. There's yellow flags waving at Brooklands. So through has gone, will go Steve Summers, much delayed. If he does continue saying that, yes, he's come through now, hasn't he? He lost about 13 seconds. The pit lane has opened, the pit window has opened, but has John Munday been able to continue? I don't think he has. So this could cause a drama, Matt.
Yeah, it's a shame because they were having a good fight, weren't they, for 10th place, but come together unfortunately somehow. But
there's a Mini, sorry Matt, going really slowly into the pit lane. I wonder if this was involved. 114, George Whitehouse. He's absolutely crawling into the pit lane. Thankfully, nobody else was trying to pit at the same time. Although that could have caused an issue. What's happening at Brooklands? The Honda has moved, I think. So that's good news. John Munday, there he goes, up across the line now. So he has lost 10 positions, but he's still going. And that means the race can continue. As what's happened here, so Ryan Parkin has fallen a long way behind Simon Morgan with a slow lap. So Morgan is 5 seconds behind Scott Parkin, but 2.5 ahead of Ryan Parkin. We've got our first proper pit stop, and that is for Ivan Med 316, who is sharing with Cam Reed, who I think having his first ever race today.
Yeah, John Monday with that lost a minute exactly, so his fella had fallen a long way back in that one. Yeah, you're right. Looks like that Ryan Parkin is behind now Simon Morgan by probably a second and a half. Just listening to the sound of that car as well. Not too sure if it sounds fully on song, so there might be a little bit of an issue under the bonnet there. But yeah, he's definitely dropped back for that fight for second place, which now might allow Morgan to concentrate more on catching rather than defending the race leader.
Yeah, so that's going to be interesting to watch, and there's that gap of 5 seconds between them, which is that all-important difference in what their success penalties are from Croft. So Scott Parkin has just lapped the car that he raced last year, so he's just lapped the 9th place car, which is being driven by Michael Smith, and the lead gap is 6 seconds, so it's gone back out again, perhaps traffic aided. Ryan Parkin's back up to speed again. Always difficult with those diesel-powered cars to know if they sound right or not. Paul Simerson's starting to fall a little bit further away now, so he's nearly that 15 seconds back. So it's number 1, Scott Parkin in the leads, 18 is second, Simon Morgan, 36 Ryan Parkin, 4th is 55 Paul Simerson, 5th is 777 Rob Andrade, 6th is 87 Louis Woodward, leading Class B by 3.6 seconds, 127 is 7th, that's Rose Villamoria, 8th is 26 Mark Burton, 9th is 29 Michael Smith, 10th is 166 Mark Colmer. Then in the classes, we haven't mentioned yet, Class C has been led by number 16 Matthew Stenning by just half a second still over number 3 Ben McCauley. 3rd is 36 Sam McKee, 4th is 116 Matthew Morgan, and 5th is 413 Andrew Cooper. Then in Class D, 41 Jason Wood now only leads by half a second over 22 Chris Fantana, and 3rd in that class is number 86 Andrew Anderson. So classes C and D at this stage, Matt, very close.
Certainly are, yeah, so good class battles to focus on, and the one you just mentioned for Class C just passes now, so that is Matthew Stenning, to very shortly hand over to John Peerless, who is a long-time racer in the Civic Cup, and now continues with this car with his teammate Matthew Stenning, but right behind still is that of Ben McCauley, so a great fight for Class C and 13th overall.
And the Class D leaders are just in front of them, and there's been a change because the Mazda of Chris Fantana has got himself up ahead of Jason Wood. So Jason Wood, who's led the whole race up until this stage in the Vauxhall Nova, which I believe he's relaying with Ben Bateman in a similar car. But Chris Fantana then going through to lead Class D, 38-year-old from Brackley, so local driver. He's in his 5th season of racing. He's been a class winner before in this 1800cc Mazda MX-5 Mark 1. So Chris Fantana takes the lead of Class D, and that's 26th position overall. He's 7 tenths ahead of Jason Wood. Meanwhile, into the pits comes the number 18 car of Simon Morgan. So he's the first of the leaders to blink and make their pit stop. It's quite an exciting pit entry view from this new commentary box angle. As they the pit speed limit doesn't start until sort of where the commentary box is, so they're braking hard and turning into the pit lane, which is quite interesting. Meanwhile, I think the Class B leader has just gone very wide at Brooklands. That's Louis Woodward, who leads the class we did by 4 seconds. He may have lost half a second or so in all of that. 2 for Rose Villamoria, the ex-British GT racer. He raced the Holden Monaro with Matt Griffin 15 years ago now. Louis Woodward ahead, started racing in the 116 Trophy. It's a much quicker car, the M2 that he's racing, and is due to share a brand track tomorrow with Tony Partridge, another ex-116 Trophy racer. Simon Morgan's pit stop still ongoing. He's been in the pits currently for 55 seconds. The pit time is 1 minute stationary, so it's going to be more than a minute. They have to be through the whole pit sequence. The Class B winner from Croft, Mark Burton, he's into the pit lane, the former low-cost champion, the 41-year-old from Hampshire, low-cost champion back in 2018. So he's into the pits. Number 36 is into, that's Sam McKee, who was the lap record holder in class coming into the event, and he's sharing with Darryl Bennett this weekend. Looks like they haven't quite gone as quick as they did a few years ago. But we know the Class A record has gone. Scott Parkin has gone underneath the Chris Mills lap time by about half a second. In Class B, Rob Boston's lap record has been broken by, I think, about 6 tenths of a second by Louis Woodward. And we know Class C hasn't quite been beaten. And in Class D, I don't think that's been beaten either, so it's classes A and B, where the lap times are quicker than when we were last here over the last few years. So Scott Parkin completes 20 laps, he stays out, and he leads now over Brian by increasing margin. Yeah, 9 seconds between the two Parkin twins now. The two 34-year-old business owners of Darkside Developments. So I suspect once this all works its way out after the pit stops, it's going to be quite close, probably between those four cars. So Simon Morgan's pit stop is done. His pit in to pit out was 1 minute and 43 seconds.
Yeah, so that's good for Scott, isn't it? Because he built the 5 over Simon, so he's got that in hand, and then of course he's almost to the 10 for Ryan. So they're all going to be very much tied together when they all have completed their pit stops. But Simon Morgan, the first though to jump from the leading trio. We've got of course now the BMW of Paul Simonson up to 3rd place, and the Sailor from Andrade has also moved up the order as well in 4th position. So just still waiting for the others to come in, but they have got around about 8 minutes still before the pit window does close, and the man who has served his pit stop, Simon Morgan, now working his way past me as he tries to get his way past Steve Summers in the Lotus Elise 13 Cup.
Class C leaders have just gone through, just 1.1 seconds between them. As Ben McCauley tries to really close in on Matthew Stenning. Ben McCauley, who's 43, he's an air ambulance paramedic from West Sussex in this Lotus Elise Series 2, which is powered by a Rover K Series engine, which produces 155 brake horsepower. So it's chasing after Matthew Stenning. They've pulled a long way clear now with Matthew Morgan, who was in that battle of once upon a time. He was on the podium at Croft, the 42-year-old from Leeds in this Honda Civic Type R FN2, ex-Type R trophy racer. A few more cars into the pit lane, including Jason Wood. Now I wonder if that might have been a relayed car, but perhaps Jason is sharing that with Ben Bateman. Jason's regular classic stock catch machine. Into the pits has come Feroz Villamoria from 2nd in Class B, the Volkswagen Sirocco. Next Volkswagen Racing Cup car, I think. So into the pits, that has become the latest to have stopped. Ivan Mares, who made an early-ish stop. I don't think that car's gone back out, so perhaps that's had a drama. Also into the pits has come Matthew Stenning on the lead of Class C. He's got to hand that car over to John Peerless. And then we'll see what type of pace John Peerless has over Ben McCauley once Ben McCauley makes his pit stop in the Lotus and back to Class C.
Yeah, shame if Ivor is in the pits and not coming back out. He was a non-finisher at Croft as well, wasn't he? So be 2 non-finishers in the first 2 rounds of Roadsports for this year. But yeah, still waiting for our top 2 to dive into the pit lane. We're almost at 10 seconds now, 9.974, so a few more thousandths of a second. Scott Parkin, and then he'll have enough of a puffer over his brother to try and come back out in the lead of the race still, but he's on his way through Cops Corner now, working his way through more traffic. So he's gone the other way, he's gone to the end of the pit window, whereas Simon Morgan went for the early part to try and do some catching up a little bit later on. But now that Brian has crossed the line, we are over the 10 seconds.
Yeah, and he was off the circuit when he crossed the line because he had to lap again a slower car, so there must be quite a few dicey moments in traffic, like any from here at Silverstone to get out of the way. I would like to start with it is a relay for Jason Wood and Ben Bateman. I can see Ben Bateman's car has gone out, so the red Volta Nova has become black and got a different driver in it. So Ben Bateman's black Nova is on the circuit now, battling the Class D honours with it. We have a red pit stop time, which is therefore an illegal pit stop time for Rose Villamoria. So I think they've read these regulations incorrectly, because it's 1 minute stationary, which looks like it equates to about 1 minute 25, something like that. Well, his pit stop was 58 seconds, so I think a substantial pit penalty is going to be covered the way of number 127 for Rose Villamoria map, which will probably put him to the lead of Class B, but not in a fair or legal way. Yeah, well, if he thought it was a minute, he'd have still been under that as well, wouldn't he? So he didn't quite read what he should have been doing, but yeah, not good for Rose, who's in that good battle for Class B honours with Louis Woodward, but at the minute he's going to possibly have some
punishment coming his way, but keeping an eye on what's happening. Still waiting for these pit stops to unfold, and we'll get a true identification of how we look for the top three, but still Scott and Ryan continue on their way, and Scott continues to build that gap over his brother as well, so looking very tidy at the minute as both Class C, what was our class leader, goes through. That is now going to be in the hands, I believe, of John Peerless, because number 16 has, I think, served its pit stop, and Louis Woodward has gone through as well, but he is yet to come into the pit lane.
Yeah, Louis Woodward just come out of the pit. I think it's on the fastest pit stop, legal pit stop of the race, 1 minute 25.0. So that could see him with an even better position, although of course he is now behind Rosewood and Morgan on the road. We know why that is. Chris Van Tannen, the Class D leader, has come into the pits too. We're still waiting for the Parkin twins, the drivers in these 340 brake horsepower 2-litre diesel engine TDI Audi TTs. Very similar cars, but Scott Parkin has a sequential gearbox, which they haven't had on one of these cars before. It seems to be working well. Into the pit lane has come Paul Simerson, so Rich Stanton will get his first go in the car. Not to be confused with the Richard Stanton who raced in British GT about 20 years ago. This one is a new driver to racing. He works in the fire service. He shares his 2017 BMW M4 GT4 with Paul Simerson, the ex-Century Motorsport car. So good to see that out in Roadsports Training Club Enduro tomorrow at Brands Hatch too. So Rich Stanton will get all of that one. We're still waiting for the Parkin though. There's 2.5 minutes in the pit window to go. So therefore they will need to be in within the next couple of laps, Matt.
Certainly will, yeah. Just keeping an eye on the times of Simon Morgan and his Seat. Last time through was a 102.4, so he's lost a few tenths to the race leader. Of course, if he can go a little bit quicker, then that gap that was 5 seconds before the pit stop would be less. But at the minute, he's just losing a few tenths of a second. But as we know, with different laps and bits of traffic you have to pass, I'm not too sure what the other laps have been. But Simon at the minute on par, which is good. So hopefully there'll be a fighting chance for that Seat to try and win one of these races this year. Of course, it was Scott Parkin who took the victory at Croft, but we'll see how it all unfolds. So Simon goes through that time again. He was about half a second slower than what Scott Parkin has done, but as you said, not yet into the pit lane, and going to cut it very fine, aren't they?
Yeah, because Scott Parkin's just completely past me to do another lap, so he must be in on the next lap, and Ryan Parkin's doing the same, so they're both staying out. Rich Stanton is back into the race, I think. Yeah, 1:55. That was a slow stop, I think. 3 minutes. So it's a very slow stop. 1:55, that's the right number, isn't it? No, it's 55. I think it's not, is it? 55, not bad. We've got 1 minute 34. So that was a pit stop that was 9 seconds quicker than Simon Morgan. So has that promoted the BMW ahead? I wonder. Of course, it should have been about that quicker because of the success penalty. Here's the Seat then. So Simon Morgan up across the line. And he is in 4:04. He's ahead of Rich Stanton still, so despite the success penalty, he's still ahead, actually by quite some way. So we expect Scott and Ryan Parkin to be in this time. The gap is 13.6 seconds, and Scott Parkin then breaks the beam. Into the pit lane he goes, and twin brother Ryan will do the same about 13 seconds later. Here he comes then into the pit lane, breaking late through the right-hander. Into the pit lane they both come, and they came into the pits. The gap actually went out to 14 seconds. Rob Andrade is also in the pits, just leaving now, and he will slot in behind Simon Morgan. I would suspect, yeah, he will do. So we'll work out the full order in about a lap or so. Number 14 is getting a penalty, I can see, and that is a 5-second track limit penalty for John Munday. Well, he'd be pleased to still going after his big spin at Brooklands earlier on in the race. So Morgan's gone through then for another lap, so that will put him on the same lap as the Parkin twins, but then it'll be the next time round we can work out who is in what order. So the Darkside Developments crew going to work. There's not much you really need to do in these pit stops necessarily. Some tyre pressure adjustments perhaps. These front wheel drive Audi TTs. Parkin, last year's Club Enduro champion. He was a Turismo X champion before that as well. Ryan Parkin, twice a Track Day Championship champion and MSVT Super Cup champion, and they leave the pit lane pretty much nose to tail, so that 13-14 second gap between them has of course come down a long way. It should come down by about 10 seconds. And here comes Simon Morgan through Woodcote Corner, so I think he's going to be in third as the two Audis have exited the pit lane now, Matt, much closer than what they were together. Yeah, this is going to be good then, so they'll need to get back up to speed and make sure they negotiate the bit of traffic they have to deal with as well. So yeah, both Scott and Ryan together, hopefully they got their pit stops absolutely spot on, and they are going to be first and second with Simon Morgan at speed, don't forget, and with warmer tyres. Of course they won't have been sitting too long in the pit lane, but they might have just cooled off slightly. But yeah, Simon Morgan now onto the same straights. It's probably going to be, I'd say, 3.5, maybe a little bit less by the time they get to the line, but the two Parkins together and the Simon Morgan continues to chase. Okay, so we're going to give you a full rundown of the order. In traffic is Scott Parkin, I can see, through Luffield Corner behind the Lotus of Steve Summers making his Roadsports debut today. So out of Luffield they come. There's a slow Nissan now. The Ricky Abel 370Z is ailing somewhat. But yeah, this lead gap then, which was 14 seconds into the pit lane, has come down to just 0.7 of a second. So number 1, Scott Parkin leads. Second is number 6, Ryan Parkin. Third is 18, Simon Morgan, who's only another 4.5 seconds behind. Then in fourth position is 127 for Rose Villamoria, but we expect a penalty coming his way. Fifth is 55, which is Richard Stanton. Sixth is 777, which is Rob Andrade. Seventh is 87, Louis Woodward, who leads the league pit stop in Class B cars. Eighth is 26, Mark Burton. Ninth is 29, Lewis Barr. 10th is 13, Steve Summers. And in Class C, number 3 leads that now, Ben McCauley, by 13 seconds to 413 Andrew Cooper, who's come up the order during the pit stops. Third in there is 16, John Peerless, who's just run past number 36, Darryl Bennett. In fifth position is number 9, which is Ethan Simmons. Then in Class D, number 22, Chris Fantana leads from 41, Ben Bateman, but there's 35 seconds between them now. And third in class is number 86, Andrew Anderson. As expected, Rose Villamoria is getting a penalty of 73.4 seconds, which is a bigger penalty than a lap time is. But obviously you don't lose laps with a penalty, so this is in a weird way, might not be as problematic as it could have been for Rose Villamoria. Yeah, it's a hefty one, isn't it, to serve, but he will have to serve that before the end of this race, but not good news for him, unfortunately, as we have our leaders now back with us once again. 1.3 seconds between both Scott and Ryan. Simon seems to be a little bit closer, not by a huge amount, but he was a couple of tenths quicker on that previous lap, so Simon Morgan continues to chip away within this race, and then behind that we will see up into fourth place once Rose Villamoria has served his pit stop. That's going to be the 55 BMW of Richard Stanton, who currently is about 30 seconds back from the leaders within this race. I think Villamoria's time will be added on to the end of his race time. So I think it's 73.4 seconds, which is the equivalent of 43.4 seconds quicker than it should have been, plus the 30 seconds, which would have been a drive-through penalty. You could argue that would make more sense than a drive-through penalty, so we have on the road makes sense, but I think it's going to be a post-race penalty for Villamoria. We've got Ricky Abel, who is very slowly making his way down the Wellington Straight. I'm not too sure what's up with the Nissan 370Z, but I think, Josh, that might be destined for the pit lane this time round. Yeah, it's been going around at least a couple of laps at a reduced pace. Really sensible. I don't think we'll stay out there any longer if that's not going to be fixed. So there's 10 minutes of the race to go. Scott Parkin is pulling clear from Ryan. There's 2.3 seconds between them. Rich Stanton's got himself up to 4th. He's got ahead of Rose Villamoria on the road. Rob Andrade is next, there in 6th position. The Nissan's not pitting. It's continuing on at very much reduced speed, which could be quite dangerous really, so hopefully the disaster is avoided. Now Louis Woodward has been lapped by the overall leader. If Rose Villamoria does not get lapped by the overall leader, he could still win his class, I reckon. Which makes a little bit of a mockery of the rules. So we shall see what happens. And see what is made of it if that does occur. Anyway, Ryan Parkins just set a personal best lap, 02.182. So he's brought the gap back down to 1.7 seconds as the gap fluctuates in the traffic. And the race leader is, I think, heading down towards Brooklands. And they're in through Brooklands corner. No traffic in front for a little bit, which I'm sure he'll be quite glad about. It's been a pretty busy race. See if we can pick out any battles. Well, the gap between Louis Woodward and Mark Burton is substantial, 54 seconds in Class B. Class C, there's 13 seconds between Ben McCauley and Andrew Cooper, the ex-Formula V racer. And in Class D, that's a substantial gap now, geography, between Chris Fantana and Ben Bateman. So the closest battles in the classes is in the top class, in Class A. 2.4 seconds between the Parkin twins who are heading into Beckett's.
Yep, so down through they come once again, and this time round Ryan Parkin is managing to stick with Scott, isn't he? Because before the pit window opened up to somewhere in the region of 13 seconds, but all of a sudden there's only 2.5 seconds between those two, as Simon Morgar is continuing to bring that gap down actually. So last time through he was well over a second quicker than Ryan ahead of him, and he was just over half a second quicker than the race leader. So this might not be done for Simon Morgar. Still 8 minutes left within this race, and Simon is carving his way nicely through the traffic, but as we said, on the next lap it might work against him, but for now he's definitely making some inroads to the top two.
And they come through past the traffic. Said that a few times in this race. The lead gap 2.2 seconds, and is Morgan quicker again? No, well, he's not quicker than Ryan Parkin, about the same pace as Scott. I'm pleased to tell you that the Nissan has pitted after its troubles, so Ricky Abel is off the circuit. Also into the pits has come John Monday from 13th position. So he's had an event race, had that spin at Beckett, and I think the car going entry straight into the garage. So that's a time for the supercharged Honda Civic. So the leaders well immersed in the traffic once more. They had about half a lap where they didn't have that. Into Brooklands they go. They've got Andy Anderson's Suzuki Swift out there just ahead. The driver who travelled all the way from Scotland to race for the 750 Motor Club, new for this year. He's an ex-rally driver. This Suzuki Swift raced in the Suzuki Swift Challenge back in the day. And he's racing also a classic stock hatch tomorrow, so he's got a busy day, busy weekend here in Silverstone. He's just been lapped by the two leaders, where they're getting the gap of 2.7 seconds, and that time Simon Morgan was another 4 tenths quicker than Ryan Parkin, so the gap there is 2.9 seconds, so a stiffer gap between first and second and third.
Yeah, but the race leader is now starting to be held up down here at Maggotts and Beckett's, and on that previous lap, Simon Morgan found the traffic in a good spot, which was down the Wellington Straight, and again, it seems to be that the Audi are finding them in the corner, which is slowing them down, and Simon Morgan seems to get the run onto the straight. So again, on this lap, I think Ryan is closer to Scott, and in turn, Simon Morgan, if he gets the run of the traffic under the bridge, he should be a little bit closer to Ryan as well. So again, we count down with 6 minutes left. I don't think this one is over just yet, because they all continue to concertina up, and as you mentioned, Josh, Simon Morgan last time round was quicker again than the car ahead of him.
He's now got the traffic at Luffield, so time he may have made up in the first half, and that may be lost in the second half. So through comes Ryan Parkin's car, very twitchy through Woodcote. So you might think, has that car got a problem? I wonder. The car is moving around in a straight line. His lap time was good. It was quicker than Scott's lap time. But have a look at the second place car, Matt, if we think there might be a problem with Ryan Parkin's Audi.
Let's have a look. Bit of a Civic to get past now. So Ryan is going to make the run down the inside, which he does. Scott is already through, and then Simon Morgan will catch the BMW. Yeah, it was wide again there as well, was Ryan Parkin. So not kind of turning in as it should do. So maybe just starting to lose a bit of grip, or maybe there's another issue within that car. But he's now going to be under pressure from Simon Morgan before too much longer. Again, the clear run of the traffic for Simon. So down the straight, past both of them. He will now have clear track ahead. So the gap continues to come down. It's just now, 4.5 seconds, which separate the top three.
Yeah, so if there is a problem for Ryan Parkin, he's not losing substantial time. I first noticed he turned through Woodcote, the car was twitching, you wouldn't really expect that through corner. Traditionally is flat out. Here he comes again, he's lapping the Ben Bateman Nova. Looks better this time, so perhaps. And then again, he goes down the straight and the car is moving. Looks like he's moving the steering wheel side to see if he can feel an issue, but it's not slowing him down because his lap time is the same as Scott, but quicker than both of them again. Simon Morgan now only 1.5 seconds behind Matt, so he's got about 3 seconds in this stage.
Yeah, Simon Morgan was only about a tenth away from his personal best lap of this race, so Simon is absolutely has got the bit between his teeth in this final bit of the race. He is now with target acquired in front of him. He can see the Ryan Parkin car. He will know he's going quicker, and he wants to put the pressure back onto the Parkins to try and get a first win of the season. Finished second best to Scott at Croft a few weeks ago, but now again these three looking good as they head into the final 4 minutes. But yeah, Simon Morgan, the man on the charge with the best lap he's done so far, not too far away from.
So I think there's probably 4 laps of the race to go. We're just under 4 minutes on the clock, and Scott Parkin stuck in traffic through Woodcote Corner. He now goes to lap the Ginetta G40 of John Dundee, and it's side by side for second place. So Simon Morgan's caught, and now he's past Ryan Parkin, who may have an ailing car, but Ryan fights back on the inside as they go through Cox Corner, but I think the Seat may be ahead, and a personal best lap just done, I think, by Simon Morgan, 101.969.
Yeah, it certainly is. So he's absolutely on a flyer here, and we know that Seat is quick in a straight line as he works his way round the traffic, this time past the Ginetta G40 of what's going to be John Dundee. So he's past that. We've got now a bit more traffic for Scott Parkin, but I think that will favour him this time down the Wellington Straight, and Simon might come a cropper as they work their way through Brooklands and Luffield. But that's one ticked off, with now time ticking away. It's going to have to be quick, but over the last 2 laps he has been quicker, and he has continued to bring that gap down.
Yeah, that's right. Into the pits has come the car from second in Class D. Ben Bateman has come in his Nova, so that might, well, it will, I think, lose them a podium spot. Andrew Anderson will be second, and Ewan Limbs will be up to third in Class D. So through comes Scott Parkin. It's just lapped Rob Andrade, which means that Rhodes Villamoria still hasn't been lapped, which could, I think, cause a difference in what might be what happens in Class B come the results. Well, Mark Burton's got a problem. He can't find a gear coming out of Woodcote. He was third, was he, in Class B? And if he can't get any further, the car's rolling at the moment. Put the left-hand side indicator on. Mark Burton's third in Class B may not make the end, which is only a couple of minutes away.
Yeah, so I think the race leader will get Feroz Villamoria over the next couple of laps. He seems to be about 2 to 3 seconds quicker, so it's going to be tight actually whether he does go a lap down. But Scott Parkin, if he continues with that speed, might just get there. But has Simon Morgan got anything to try and take the battle to Scott Parkin? 2.7 seconds the gap was last time through as they come up to complete that number 40. Let's see if Simon can have one final push with what's going to be 2 more laps, isn't it, to squeeze into this one?
Yes, yeah, just about to squeeze 2 more in, and the lead gap is coming down. It's now 2.8 seconds between Scott Parkin and Simon Morgan. Ryan Parkin still pushing on behind. It's a reason I think it matters if Feroz Villamoria gets lapped or not, because the time is added, and if he's on a different lap to Louis Woodward, it means he will keep his position, I reckon. Perhaps controversially. So that, I believe that doesn't matter whether he gets lapped by the overall leader or not. It's going to be close, as you said, Matt.
Yeah, so race leader goes on to the Wellington Straight, past the traffic, has now gone Simon Morgan in second. I think just up the road from the race leader is going to be Feroz Villamoria. So yeah, I think he will go the lap. So that would give, wouldn't it, with the penalty, the win in Class 2, Louis Woodward.
That's right. Mark Burton, who was ailing, has continued, I think, at reduced speed. Will he get caught by Steve Summers or not for a podium? That we will see. Here comes, Scott Parkin's done it then, so he's lapped Feroz Villamoria, so that puts Louis Woodward into Class D lead, I reckon, on adjusted time. 2.3 seconds separates Scott Parkin and Simon Morgan, so it's been a good chase in this second half of the race by the Seat driver, but I don't think he's quite going to get there. It's been a very competitive race. The Class 8 win a bit smaller this weekend, but it's been pretty close, and the race leader with a car or so to lap heads into the pits.
Yeah, and it's been good to see Simon Morgan try and bring this gap down to Scott Parkin, of course, who would have been helped by that less 5 seconds in the pit stop, but still he's had to bring this gap down by quite a lot, and also get past Ryan Parkin for second. So it looks like we can have the same order we had at Croft on this last lap. Time is ticked to 0 at leaders through Brooklands for the final time.
Yeah, that's right. The Nissan back out on the circuit is the last car to be lapped then for Scott Parkin. He didn't have a great time in Club Enduro at Croft, but he won in Roadsports, and it looks like he's going to win here at Silverstone in the TOR Roadsports series. So across the line to take the checkered flag. Scott Parkin is the race winner there by a small margin of 1.7 seconds in the end over Simon Morga, with Ryan Parkin just 5 seconds behind the winner in third. The Class B on the road leader, Feroz Bilamouri, has gone through, but with his penalty, Louis Woodward is going to come through to win, I think in his first outing in this BMW. In Class C, Ben McCauley has gone through to win in the Lotus, and in Class D, that's going to go the way of Chris Fantana, Matt.
Certainly is, yep. So another cracking race there for the Tiguan Roadsports Series. Went by in an absolute flash, but it was Scott Parkin with a second victory of the season. 42 laps completed, as Josh said, won by 1.7 seconds in the end. So Simon Morga all the way through to that last lap continued to bring the gap down. Scott got the quickest lap of the race as well, which is a new lap record on a 101.958. And also had the Class B lap record broken as well from 2 years ago by Rob Boston. This time it went the way of Louis Woodward in the number 87 BMW with a 104.452, so a new lap record there. In terms of Class C, do we have a new lap record from Ben McCauley? Let's have a look. 108.8, no, not quite on that one, but let's run you through the top 10. Scott Parkin, your winner, second to the set of Simon Morga. Third place, number 6, was Ryan Parkin, so exactly the same podium we had at Croft back in April. And then as we move through the order, fourth place went the way of number 55, which was the Paul Simerson and Richard Stanton BMW. Fifth place, 777, was the Rob Andrade's Seat Cupra, and then behind that our Class B winner, which was Louis Woodward on his own for today. And with the corrected time, it does mean that Feroz Bilamouri drops down to second within Class B and 7th place overall. 8th place went the way of number 26, Mark Burton, after being the winner in Class B at Croft. He dropped down to third after that 15-second penalty in the pit stop due to the success they carry over from the previous round. So third for him in Class B. 9th place goes away of number 13, which was Steve Summers, and for 10th place, number 29 was the car there of Michael Smith and Lewis Barr. But for now, down to Josh.
So down here in the
Tom to me, so yeah.
I saw Ryan was weaving around as well, so might that have been the same issue for him?
Quite possibly. I did just radio and said I've got it, so if he just does everything he can to stop it happening, just in case, you know, because you lose probably half a second to a second every time.
And like at Croft, you got a new lap record as well, about half a second faster than a few years ago.
Yeah. Shows how much the cars have been improved. And I'm not sure what tyres that lap record was set on, but obviously these Yokohama tyres are really good as well, so that's certainly stepped things up. So yeah, I'm happy with that. I think there were only 100th between me and Morgan's time, so yeah, glad to keep that as well.
And now a trip down to Brands Hatch?
Yep, nice 2-hour drive, so the lads are going to re-prep the cars now, because we've not got a garage at Brands Hatch, so re-prep the cars, load it up, and we'll be down. So hopefully before 10 o'clock tonight we'll be at Brands Hatch.
Well, best of luck tomorrow.
Thank you very much, cheers.
So there's Scott Parkin, the winner. The Class B winner over here was Louis Woodward. And well done, Louis, a class win, and I think in the first outing in the car as well?
Yes, first time this car's been raced, so yeah, we're just getting to grips with it, trying to understand